Religion is the savior of the human world. Today, religion has grown into a bad reputation, has taken on a bad face, so to speak. But even today, religion is the savior of society. Not religion as you have known it, but religion as it truly is. Today is the savior of society. The world that hates truth because truth threatens everything that won't agree with it. Anybody who wants to establish something false, want to build a world on lies, they are threatened by truth. And if you try to present truth to people who have already took their position on the side of lie, you're going to have enemies. Don't think because a man says he loves God and he gives his life for God, and he loves humanity and he will sacrifice his life to bring happiness and peace to humanity, don't think that he's going to be loved. That man is going to be hated more than any other man. He's hated because he is not a political man. He's not a spiritual man. He's a man of truth. See, a spiritual man, people like to look at him and listen to him like they look at an entertainer and listen to an entertainer. The entertainer looks pretty and he sounds pretty, you know. So people like that spiritual man. But the man of truth is different. He will upset your spirit to bring you in a better life, you see. So he has to make an enemy. He has to make an enemy for the sake of God and for the sake of truth and really for your own sake. And unlike the political people who look first to see what you want, and then they design a program after what they know that you want, and then say, I stand for this, knowing that you already stand for that. If there's a law coming before the Senate or the President to be passed, asking for a thing that this particular political figure knows is against your wishes, he will see an opportunity to become your leader. So he jumps out and starts working against that law, working against the passing of that law. Now, I'm not saying every political leader is like that, but that's the general picture. There are some political leaders that are not like that. They're true. And if they can't represent truth, then they're satisfied not to become popular. And many of them never become popular, and many of them do become popular. But brothers and sisters, we are here to bring you truth. That's our sole purpose. And the book says, in the mouth of Jesus, that the truth will make you free. You may not be a slave to physical change, but we all are slaves to something. And none of us are satisfied to be slaves. Everybody wants to be free. In the world today, we have enemies bigger than any enemy of the past. Moses, Jesus, Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon them, they did not face enemies equal to the enemy that you face today. And they knew that a time was coming, a time that would present greater forces of evil for the people to tend with than they had ever seen in their time. Jesus and Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon them, both of them of a time coming that would be so much darker and so much more poisonous than the time that they lived in, that they almost weep in the language that they use for the people that would be living in that time. The enemies of the world that Moses lived in were small compared to the enemies of today. And likewise for all the prophets since him and before him. The enemies today are big. The reason why the world is not as upset today as it was in those times is that we have learned to live with our misery better than they were able to live with theirs. And the reason why we have learned to live with our miseries better than they were able to live with their miseries is that we have more company now sharing our miseries. In those days, the population was quite thin, and a man was quite alone with his misery. But today, you can go to a theater and sit in a crowd of thousands and share your miseries with the whole crowd because you know all of you in the same pot. But don't think, brothers and sisters, that our miseries are not greater. They are greater today than miseries have ever been for any people in the history of the world. You wake up in the morning, you don't know what to think. So you try to sit out thoughts. So you can't think. You turn the radio up high as you can get it. Or you'll put a record on the record player and turn it up high as you can get it. Or you'll start singing as loud as you can sing, or fussing and cursing as loud as you can fuss and curse. Why? Because you know that there's a threatening, invisible world out there surrounding your house and it has infiltrated your home, and you just can't live in it. So you have to have enough noise to keep out the reality of this miserable world that you live in. Is that right? You know it's true.